Soccer can be a force for political unrest. An example of the sport's direct impact on global politics was the armed conflict between Honduras and El Salvador in 1969, the so-called Soccer War. The three 1969 World Cup qualifying matches, or the 1970 Mexico City World Cup, created this conflict. The war was not only created by the sport of soccer/football alone. A combination of border conflicts and class tensions that existed for several years before the 1969 matches set the stage for the war. The three matches were played in June 1969. The soccer war is a reminder that the implications of a sport can reach far beyond the field. The aggressive physicality of football can often lead to hostility among the fans. The football war is no exception. It is an example of nationalistic soccer fever quickly escalating into violence. Fans from both nations started riots that helped push their armies into a war that had been on the verge of eruption for years. The seriousness of this crisis was made clear on July 14, 1969, when the Salvadorian planes dropped bombs on the airport and Honduran capital. 4 days later, most of the fighting in the 100-hour war had stopped, but the consequences of the conflict remained for decades.
On July 14, 1969, El Salvador and Honduras started the 100-hour war, also referred to as the Soccer War. This war did not only start because of the soccer game, but because of economic problems Honduras and the poorly treated Salvadoran immigrants. The two countries still weren't in complete agreement after this chaos events, and including the rioting fans. Once again, El Salvador won. It ignited the first steps towards the war. The football war integrates with the history fair theme, debate and diplomacy in history, because in the football war, you can debate both sides of the war and have opinions that support both El Salvador and Honduras. On one hand, it was not fair for the Salvadorans to have illegally immigrated into Honduras and taken over the Honduran land for so many years. However, it also wasn't fair for the Hondurans to kick out the Salvadoran immigrants who have been living there for generations. By kicking out the Salvadorans back to El Salvador, they lost their money and homes and were being violently treated as escaping back to El Salvador.
This conflict between two countries makes this war a diplomatic issue. It's even more complicated because El Salvador and Honduras border each other and need to find peaceful ways to coexist and keep diplomacy. Our sources help us prove our thesis by giving us information like one salient example of the game's ability to directly impact global politics is the armed conflict between Honduras and El Salvador in 1969, the so-called Soccer War. This helped us prove the time of the event and what it is sometimes called. It also helped us prove on July 14, 1969, El Salvador and Honduras started the 100-hour war, also referred to as the Soccer War. This was in our thesis, and this is what it proves. There are more pieces of content that was used for our opinion, like the background information, which really changed our opinion about the situation.
The overcrowding in El Salvador resulted in a decline of quality of life for a large number of Salvadoran citizens. Many spilled over to nearby Honduras, which was less densely populated. These immigrants began to take jobs as factory workers and cultivators of previously barren land. A growing resentment began to emerge among many rural Hondurans who witnessed Salvadoran immigrants in their communities holding jobs and profiting off of the land. Both governments tried to stem the tide of unauthorized immigration and resultant border disputes by reestablishing the borders between the two countries. However, a string of treaties were intended to solve the problem were met with public contempt. The last of these treaties, the bilateral treaty of immigration, though defunct by 1967, endures in popular memory as resentment is still felt by both sides. First, they took land from the Hondurans. Then, the Hondurans got furious and started attacking the unarmed Salvadoran immigrants on their way out of Honduras, proving that our thesis, how it was chaos.
According to the Duke Research Project, before the game even started, the El Salvadorian side were kept up all night by riotous fans outside their hotel. This was only the start to the hostility between the fans, because throughout the games, both fans kept rioting and even fighting. Late in overtime, Honduras finally scored a goal to win the game. Fans immediately started rioting and fighting in the stands at the stadium. The hostility was getting bad between the two countries, and the soccer players noticed. One recalls, "We're awfully lucky that we lost, otherwise we wouldn't be alive today." El Salvador finally scored the winning goal in the 101st minute. After this victory, diplomatic ties were broken off by each government, the first steps toward war. This proves that the governments of both countries had enough and started war because of El Salvador's win. Although this was not the only thing nudging each country to war, it was the thing that caused the 100-hour war. This proves there are riotous fans and that the war was started by the soccer game, which proves our thesis.